Welcome inside another edition of the Neishloss Podcast, here presented by Neishloss Fleming and, of course, Integrity Marketing Group. I'm your host, as always, Mike Asti, and this show, as we keep on moving, talking different carriers and different markets, is going to focus right here at home in our home state of Pennsylvania and about a major carrier with Aetna in Pennsylvania. Before I get started though, I do want to remind everybody to click on that subscribe button, bottom of this video. So there's a little button down there. It's free to do so, and it'll help us get all of our content to you as easy as possible. You get a notification when anything is uploaded, premieres, goes live here on our channel. And also want to remind you to follow us all throughout social media, Neishloss Fleming on Facebook and LinkedIn, and also at Neishloss_Fleming on Instagram. And to find even more of our content, as well as be directed to this YouTube channel, there's a quote engine, a lot else going on there on nandfinc.com. So with all that said, I am now going to bring on my guest for the show, who is a perfect person to have on to talk about what's going on with Aetna in Pennsylvania, and that is Toni Stoner, who is a sales manager with Aetna, dealing with Aetna in Pennsylvania. Of course, Toni, thanks for joining me, for sure. I definitely appreciate you taking the time, and I like the paintings you have there in the background. Is that your family? Those are nice.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Or did you paint those, or
no? They're photos. Just
they're photos. Okay.
Little tile ones. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I got my mom got my fiance and I kind of a tile photograph thing like that actually that we have in our room. So yeah, I love those. That's awesome. But again, thanks for joining me. And again, Toni Stoner, sales manager with Aetna. Now, Toni, Aetna is one of those companies that you don't have to do too much in terms of explaining who you are. Most people around the market, most people around the Medicare space, even really consumers at this point, I know I was aware of Aetna's existence prior to getting into the industry, are aware of Aetna. The brand name is out there. But Pennsylvania has a lot of opportunities for agents, a lot of opportunities for consumers. There's a lot of competition. Certainly with major carriers being involved in that competition, it certainly can even matter about which side of Pennsylvania you're on, whether you're on the east or the west side of Pennsylvania with that competition. So can you tell us why Aetna's had success and been able to have success in Pennsylvania besides from just the brand name? Because of course there has to be more when there's so much competition that involve other major brand names.
Sure, absolutely. Because you're right, a lot of Aetna has multiple products, right? So a lot of us will have Aetna at some point in our lives, whether it's employer coverage. So a lot of consumers have heard the name. When I talk to agents, they really go back to the product all the time. They love selling Aetna because of the product, because of the consistency with the products. There's not a lot of drastic changes year over year. We've had for 18 years, 0 premium plans across the state that have been very solid and consistent, and that's what our members like. Our Medicare members really enjoy that, just something that they can count on, where they don't have to learn about a lot of new things going on from year to year. And so what they just, stay on the plan. So the agents love they don't have to really work hard year over year to move them around. Our members just continue on the plan, and it's really, probably the thing I hear the most is the product.
And you got to have the product. And we're going to get to all of that, of course. You got to have the plans. You got to have the product. You got to have the benefits. And more so now, from my experience too, than ever before, because it seems like with the pandemic and this new world, and even as maybe we're on the tail end, it's still a new world in general, that it's caused consumers to even be, I would say, more proactive in terms of learning what's out there. And they always talk to their friends, and if they know one benefit exists here, they're going to ask, do I have that benefit with you? If not, I'm going to maybe go elsewhere. So that's a big deal for sure, and you got to have more than just the brand name, even though Aetna has a strong brand name, to say the very least. And as Toni mentioned, Aetna involved in a lot in terms of the insurance industry, let alone just the Medicare space. And of course, on the Medicare side, doing a lot with Med Advantage, Med Sup. We talked in past shows about the CVS relationship and the Ascendo and even final expense and all of that, which again you can find throughout our channel here on the Neishloss Fleming YouTube channel and as part of the Neishloss Podcast playlist here on the channel. Toni Stoner, sales manager with Aetna. Now, Toni, we talked about the plans. We talked about benefits being so important, even more than just the brand name and needing those. Aetna has a well-developed portfolio of plans, and it's almost an understatement, I guess, to say that. They absolutely do have a well-developed portfolio of plans that consumers can choose from. What are a couple plans that have experienced growth that are kind of jumping off the page to you? I know there probably are a bunch. There's tons of success going on with the carrier, but what are a couple that stand out for people to be aware of?
Sure. So, first, let me just mention our D-SNP product,
Right.
because that right now it's really, really doing very well. And, we're seeing a lot of agents putting their Medicare and Medicaid members into that plan. And that is in 43 counties this year.
Okay.
So it's, really widespread throughout Pennsylvania. In 38 of those counties, you get $4,500 of dental benefits. So, it's just over and above what most of we're seeing with other carriers in terms of product and benefits. I'm really particularly proud of that plan with its care management team. And, I think if an agent is sitting down with someone that, is a chronically ill person, they have both Medicare and Medicaid, they know that if they put them on the Aetna Medicare D-SNP product, that they're going to have a dedicated team of people to, walk that member through the whole journey. And it really takes that off the agent. The agent isn't servicing the member as much because they have a dedicated team making sure that everything is going smooth. So, that product, if you're talking about D-SNP, doing very well. Outside of D-SNP, our MA only plan is actually really popular right now. That is our Eagle product, the Advantra Eagle. And that is a zero premium plan with a $40 give back, Part B give back. So that's, we're really finding veterans are really liking that plan. I know in some of the different markets, they're doing a lot of, grassroots type of things with the veterans organizations and getting a lot of good feedback from agents with that plan. And then we also have a couple of prime plans. We do have our Philadelphia Prime, our Philly Prime HMO. That's a zero premium, zero PCP, zero labs, zero copay for some prescriptions, tier 1 and tier 2. So that is getting some, definitely noticed out in Philadelphia. So, and we also have our St. Luke's Prime plan too in the Lehigh Valley. So we're really, seeing that these prime plans, even with a somewhat of a narrow network, they still have a pretty large network. We've built them that way. So, those are the plans you really want to check out that could give the clients zero premium, zero copays on many doctor office visits too.
Yeah, and that Eagle plan is a big deal too, because I know that's a major focus. We've talked about that on past shows, the veteran community, and sometimes agents are scared to maybe bring this up or they don't push too hard, but veterans, they certainly have the VA capability, but there are a lot of veterans that are missing out on some benefits they otherwise could receive with plans like you're mentioning there with that Aetna plan, and even making it easier on them. So everybody in some way has some connection to a veteran, whether it's a relative or even a distant relative or a friend or somebody, even if you didn't serve. So there's a way to find that common ground to be able to have that conversation. And if you don't ask if somebody is a veteran, then you're obviously not going to know. So once you help them out and they see what these plans can do for them, and they see what an Eagle plan can do for them, and they see the benefits they have, they're not going to mind the question at all. Toni Stoner, the sales manager with Aetna here, joining me on the Neishloss Podcast to discuss, of course, Aetna in Pennsylvania. And we're located in Pennsylvania, so of course this is an important show for us in general. Now, those plans are having success. There are other plans that are having success. If you type in any zip code in Pennsylvania, you'll find a lot of Aetna activity in the quote engine. Again, that's on the MA, D-SNP, MedSup side, all over the place. And it's about having great plans, but it's also, as I said, about having great benefits and about offering a lot inside those plans. And I do also get that during this pandemic age, you might not have as much time to sit on the kitchen table and have milk and cookies and talk for 2 hours about everything Aetna has to offer. So with that said, because there's a lot going on and there are a lot of benefits, what do you think and you can name more than one if you want, even though I put what is the single most, but what are a couple attractive benefits that jump out to you off these Aetna plans that if you're telling an agent, I get all the challenges that exist now, but if you're talking to somebody, you probably want to mention these benefits. These are bells and whistles that are more than just frivolous. These are necessity. People are going to look for these. You got to talk about these. You don't want to miss these out. And obviously you want to do a needs analysis, but what are a couple benefits off these Aetna plans that really are big?
Sure. So I'll mention first with just your traditional MAPD plans. I think 100%, people are really excited about the supplemental benefits, the dental, the OTC, that is really jumping out at people. We are opening up certain stores for the ability to go into the stores and get their OTC items versus just the catalog.
Right.
So, I think really people, some people don't realize that, they can get those additional benefits, eyeglasses, all of that is wonderful. And I think, making sure that we are also talking about, the prescription benefits, of course, right? Because many of our plans offer a zero copay for tier 1 and tier 2 medications. And, some people take 10 different prescriptions, and that can be a really big saver if they're paying maybe $5 somewhere else, or if it's a tier 2 somewhere else and it's a 5 or 10. My father alone was on 10 different tier 1 and tier 2 prescriptions. It was a very good savings for him to pick those up and not pay anything at the pharmacy. So I think it's really evaluating things that they're doing every month like that. And then when it comes to our D-SNP product, some new things that I don't think we're talking enough about is the Join Papa benefit, where people on this plan now with Join Papa, they get up to 10 hours per month, right? And that is on certain, in certain counties. So it's not all across Pennsylvania, but in certain counties. And these are college students that can help, tidy up or, go run an errand for someone, go do grocery shopping. So it's definitely a new benefit that, we're making sure we're getting the word out. And then the healthy foods card too.
Yeah.
Now that's $25 a month. And again, with that, you don't automatically qualify. You do have to have a chronic condition, but most people that are on D-SNP plans have one condition at least. So it's a really good benefit for those folks. And again, that's in select counties. So it's not necessarily all over Pennsylvania yet, but it is, a new benefit. So people aren't quite, confident yet in explaining it, but we really should be talking about those.
I was going to mention the food card if you didn't mention it, because that's big too, that can really help people that may have some food insecurities out there and maybe have a greater need for food and maybe have those insecurities increase because, again, of what's going on in the world. So that's big, especially if you want to have a way to use the food card and maybe you don't want to have help of a college student and some of those other benefits. It still can help you in some way, but that's big because that's also helping the college student in some respect. So I would have loved to help out when I was in college with doing something like that as well. Toni Stoner, sales manager with Aetna, as we're talking Aetna in Pennsylvania, of course, here on the Neishloss Podcast. Before we close up, I do want to remind all of you to subscribe. Again, hit that button. It is below the video. It'll help us get all of our content to you, and it is free to do so. Now, Toni, we've talked about the brand. We talked about the strong brand for Aetna, the success story. Tons of competition. Some competition doing similar things. There's tweaks and things like that Aetna's doing, but the plans, the benefits, it's all solid for a carrier like Aetna. And Aetna is a carrier that we work heavily with. We certainly obviously work in Pennsylvania, have a lot of agents in PA, and certainly have a lot of agents working with Aetna in Pennsylvania. But in terms of selling Aetna, in particular in terms of selling Aetna in Pennsylvania, what would you say is a big challenge that's out there, and what advice maybe would you give to overcome it? Because nothing is perfect, as you did mention with some county restrictions. There's going to be something brought up that maybe some agents thinking, I don't know how to overcome this. What advice would you give?
Sure. One thing that I think I help people the most with is understanding the MOOP, right? The maximum out of pocket. And I know sometimes that can present a challenge for some agents because you may have another plan that, you know, doesn't nearly have as good of benefits, but has that lower MOOP, right? So, you know, I think one, making sure that you know, agents themselves understand exactly how a MOOP works. Typically in Aetna, less than 2% of our members ever hit the MOOP. So it's not something that, you know, typically someone will run into, right? Their co-payments are low enough that, you know, you'd have to have a lot of hospital stays in order to get there. But I think it, you know, sometimes that presents a challenge, and agents, you know, and may just hear, okay, let's go with the lower MOOP, but that person's then missing out on the other benefits because the other benefits are something they're going to be using every day. You know, not everybody is going to hit the MOOP. So, you know, I think that's making sure you understand it yourself, and don't be afraid to point it out and explain it to your clients. Don't skip over it just because it's difficult to explain. I think that's a mistake when we skip over things, because then people, you know, question it later. They'll question whether they made a good decision or not with the plan they chose. So just being very upfront and explaining it in a good way and understanding how it works yourself, but also knowing that very, very few people actually hit that. That helps, I think, for the clients to understand it too.
I think that's great advice, actually, and nobody's offered that advice in particular on one of these shows, but that's great advice just in general, because that does occur with people in a lot of walks of life. And, you know, it's easy to do that because you almost feel like, why am I going to compete with myself and create my own challenge? But people do kind of don't bring something up unless it's brought up to them, and then they have their answer for it. They react rather than being proactive to it. And something like that that's so obvious, that's going to be able to be searched and going to be on any quote engine and going to be a part of any details anywhere, or really anything in general, it sometimes is best to maybe bring it up and say, I know that this exists, here's how to overcome this, here's the benefits here, this is what this offers, etc., and fully explain things so that it's fully understood, rather than not say anything. They don't bring it up to you, you don't offer anything, and then 6 months later they call you and say, well, my son or daughter looked further into the plan because they're taking care of me as a good son or daughter. They're wondering about this because their friend has their parent on this. Why didn't you tell me about this? And now you're just on a path that doesn't, the trust isn't there even if you're correct in what you're going to say. So that is a great way to establish trust initially and just overcome obstacles. Right, yeah, that's a great thing, great advice in general in the world to potentially...
Objections are just unanswered questions, right?
Right,
so
there you go.
You just didn't, and you know, I think even myself, you know, 15 years ago starting this, I think even then I just didn't want to talk about it if they didn't bring it up.
Right.
You know, people would not, you know, okay, well, I'll get back to you. And then they don't, and they do something different because they didn't feel like you gave them all the information.
Right.
So it's very important.
Yeah, you could either lose the sale in general, or even if you get the sale, then it could become a lack of trust and an issue with the relationship moving forward because they may feel like you left something out to get the sale. And nobody wants to come off like they're just trying to get the sale because, of course, as our CEO Brian Adams and really anybody who has success in this market likes to say, if you take care of the client, if you do the needs analysis properly, the money is going to then come, and that's certainly the first priority, is taking care of the client. Toni Stoner, sales manager with Aetna here, as again, we are speaking about Aetna in Pennsylvania and getting close to ending this chapter of our broadcast, but I do want to remind everybody, of course, Aetna is a major carrier that we work with. We have tons of agents dealing with Aetna all through MA, Med Sup, etc. here in Pennsylvania, of course. We have Medicare Center as an online enrollment platform that you can look up doctors, prescription drugs, use it as a quote engine, enroll right there. That's big for us. We have a program called Greenhouse, which is a bonus program that's big for agents as well, gaining something even on top of your normal commissions. People like myself that you're able to talk to and get advice and pitch to and prepare to have conversations with. Of course, we have videos like this. We have shows here on the Neishloss YouTube channel. We have podcasts. We have near and far. We have everything you could imagine under the sun. We even have a digital marketing company that we have a relationship with called Snoozy. Got potentially a new podcast coming with that, as that will dive into how to help you create a website and social media channels and maintain and post on those. And Any other questions you certainly have, feel free to comment below the video, or any of our social channels, any of our social platforms, and one of us will give you a call. And Toni, we definitely appreciate the time for sure. I know you're, I'm sure, a busy woman, a lot going on here around this time of year in general, and I'm sure you're working with a lot of agents out there and even other FMOs. We definitely appreciate the time. Any final words in terms of advice to agents, just final words of wisdom? You just dropped an advice bomb there about 5 minutes ago, so I like that. But anything else here as final words on the show?
Not necessarily any more advice for agents, but I think one of the things that makes you stand out over at your FMO is that you really do make your agents feel important as individuals, and you do a lot. You have a lot of resources. You just mentioned a lot of them, but just even this podcast, in general, you're doing different things to engage agents than what some other FMOs are doing, and I just want to say, kudos to you. So that's really, just all I had is thanks for having me on, and you're doing great work. So appreciate it.
Absolutely, we appreciate it for sure. Yeah, it's sometimes being unique is a benefit too, and especially having to roll the punches and adapt in this crazy world. And as I said again, feel free to comment below or give us a call with any further questions about how to properly deal with Aetna and how to contract with Aetna and add Aetna to your portfolio if it's not already there, especially if you are an agent working in the Pennsylvania market. Toni Stoner, sales manager with Aetna. For Toni, for all of us here at Neishloss and Fleming and Integrity Marketing Group, I'm your host as always, Mike Asti. Until we meet again.